Today we would like to welcome Lauren Harris back to the stage as she closes out our conference for today. A little fun fact about Lauren was that she did a voiceover as Darla in Robot City, and she was also a vocal jazz major. Please help me welcome Lauren to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I don't know how familiar you are with the concept of being a vocal jazz performance major in college, but it was a thing at one point. But it's kind of hard to make a living doing that. So ended up falling into healthcare with a background in retail, and I started in optometry and then moved into ophthalmology, then ophthalmology billing. Then I was the business office manager for an ASC. Then I moved into administration and have done all kinds of fun operational practice work since then. So crazy how our careers start and where we go from there, isn't it? So thanks for having me today. You probably noticed I put a few things on the desks, or on the tables rather. These are optional worksheets. I just wanted to set the tone a little bit, that if you were expecting a keynote where I was going to break into song or play the drums at the end or make a painting, that is not my style. My style is far more educational and to give you something that's practical, some real tips, tricks, and tools that you can take back with your team, and some real deep learning today. So I invite you, if you wish, to take notes in the old school style using the worksheet, or not, that's okay too. So here's a little bit about me. I just described what I do. I have my own business. I started in July of 2020. I was talking to the breakout group yesterday, and that was actually a really great time to start a business. There was a lot of need, and there still is, for the kinds of things that I get to do. So I'm super excited to be here to talk to you today, and thank you for the invitation, Patrick. We've known each other for, I think, 7, 8 years, something like that. So let's dive in. All right, so I just want to tell you a little story. So about a year ago, I got to work with a medical group who was really, really struggling. And I like to say that people don't call consultants when things are going well. I wish they did, because we could make things go even better. But generally, I'm more like an ER physician, and I come in and I stabilize the patient and give them a treatment plan, and then we're on to the next thing. So this group was really struggling. They had had 50% turnover in the last 6 months. You know how expensive that is from a dollars perspective, from a morale perspective? That's a huge hit. 75% of the staff, when we did a staff engagement survey, was reporting burnout and disengagement. Wow. That's not great. So now we also had team infighting. Anybody have fights between the front office, the back office, the coders, the billers? Yeah, that never happens, does it? Yeah, lots of miscommunications and misunderstandings across teams. So what did we do? We created some solutions to bridge some generational gaps that we were seeing, and I was just talking with my new friend today about how challenging this is to see so many generations in the workplace and so many different work styles, so we're gonna talk about that. But we also created some flexible schedules where we could. Not everybody needed to work 8 to 5 the way that we used to and be in the office the way that we used to. And we realigned the team with the corporate mission and values. And what did we experience? We had 35% fewer people turning over in the organization. We had 60% better staff engagement scores, and we improved our teamwork and our practice culture, and overall, our patient satisfaction. That's an important piece, because when our employees, our staff, the people that are working with us are dissatisfied or fighting amongst themselves, that trickles right down to patients, folks. We know it does. And I'm a patient. You're probably a patient somewhere. Don't you want a great experience when you access healthcare? Yeah, so let's dive into what this is gonna look like today. So as I mentioned, I'm more of a teacher, and so I'm gonna give you some objectives. We're gonna talk about understanding generational dynamics in the workforce. We're gonna talk about some tools to combat burnout and to boost engagement. We're gonna talk about building a resilient and connected workplace culture, and also how to identify your own blind spots and enhance your job satisfaction. Would you agree that this stuff starts at the top? Yeah, we have to set the tone as leaders, and we have to also convince our leaders to help us set the tone effectively. So my goal today is that you'll take away some things you can do right away with your teams, that you can share with your leaders, with your organization, to improve your results over the next year or so, like we did with this medical group. All right, so let's dive into the hardest part of the presentation today, where we do a little reality check about who's in the room. We're gonna do working across generations. So if you're brave this morning and you're awake, and you wanna raise your hand, who are my baby boomers? Yes, proud baby boomers in the room. Okay, so just to kind of level set, our baby boomers were those folks born in 1946 to 1964. And this is a stereotype, of course, but typically what we see as work characteristics in the baby boom generation are a strong work ethic and dedication. Baby boomers tend to come in and stay at an organization. That at least has historically been what we've seen. They tend to like hierarchical structure. They want to know, who do I report to? Who's my boss? They like that sort of chain of command style. They tend to value face-to-face communication. I know a lot of baby boomers that I get to work with, especially physicians, and they like to be stopped in the hallway. They like to have that brief one-on-one conversation. Not all of them are great texters or, using technology, and they really appreciate formal recognition. Does anyone remember the gold watch? People used to get some sort of emblem of their dedication to the organization, and it was very meaningful. So in addition to a pension, you usually got some sort of recognition. But let's talk about some management strategies. Again, I know I'm stereotyping, but what we can do to address what we've seen in the typical baby boomer generation is we need to acknowledge their experience and expertise. We need to say thank you. You've stayed with this company 15, 20 years. You bring a tremendous amount of long-term knowledge and experience that we value. So if you're managing baby boomers, tell them how much you appreciate their contributions. It's important. Come up with your own gold watch, whatever it is, your own recognition. Make sure also that you provide clear reporting structures. Now, everyone gets a little bit weird if they don't know who they're reporting to, right? That feels very unsettling. But baby boomers especially, they want to know what that hierarchical structure looks like. Here's the key. Think about offering mentorship opportunities. Not only are you valuing their experience and education, but you're asking them to put that into action by taking on mentorship of the younger generations. And do some regular in-person check-ins. And that's true for really all the generations, but especially the baby boomers. They like that in-person check-in, that conversation that happens that's heart to heart, that candid communication. So I'm going to pause for just a moment. And my baby boomers, there were a few of you in the audience. Do you want to disagree to this? Do you want to add anything to this? What are your thoughts, if you feel comfortable? Yeah, thanks, Patrick.
But I think sometimes it's just general consensus is, oh, baby boomers don't know how to use technology. Yet Slicer Dicer came along in Epic. I was one of the first ones. I did it. Let me see some of the other comments. Oh, it's Excel. You wouldn't know about that. You guys didn't grow up with that. It's like, who do you think came up with Excel?
Exactly.
I'm just telling you, some of the stuff that comes across, there is, I guess, the diss.
Yeah, exactly. We're dissing on the boomers. Okay, cool. So we're going to keep going, because let's pick on the next generation here. These are Gen Xers. Any other Gen Xers in the room? That's me. Yes. Okay, we were also latchkey kids, raised ourselves from the age of 10, most of us, right? We are independent and self-reliant. We had to figure out our own snacks when we got home from school, because mom was in the workforce now. Dad was in the workforce as well. We are starting to value more work-life balance. I think we're seeing Gen Xers start to push this even more than ever. We're adaptable to technology, many of us. I'm a huge AI fan, and I just turned 55. So don't tell me I don't know how to use technology, because I'm figuring this stuff out, and I love it. I also prefer direct communication. So I like to talk with people. I like to know where I stand. I like that clarity. And so if we're managing Gen Xers, think about, again, offering flexibility in work arrangements. If you can, maybe the hours don't have to be exactly the same. Maybe the days don't have to be exactly the same. I know this can be tricky sometimes with the balance of work needs, but where you can, offer that flexibility. This is key as well. We want autonomy frequently. We're used to managing ourselves. As I said, we raised ourselves from age 10, most of us. So let us do it. Let us be autonomous. Keep your communication concise and to the point. So of my Gen X crowd, who likes a bullet list versus a paragraph? My bullet people? Yeah, we want some bullet lists, don't we? If you're gonna give me that summary at the end of the week of what you worked on, please don't make me read like War and Peace. I just wanna know, how did you do on the things I asked you to do? And then we like recognition through career development opportunities. So give us the chance to grow and learn and to become something different from what we are right now. Okay, any argument from the Gen Xers or any additions? I saw a lot of heads nodding, so I think you agree with me on that one. That's my lived experience. All right, so millennials, raise your hands, millennials. Okay, your work characteristics tend to be tech savvy and collaborative. So you grew up working with teams. You liked group projects. You tended to get recognition for being on teams. We still joke about that, right? The participation trophy. But also, you value feedback and growth opportunities, and you like flexible work environments. Are we seeing a theme here? Yeah, everybody wants some flexible work environments where we can get them. That's changed a lot. And management strategies, specifically for our millennials, regular feedback and coaching. They're used to it, they want to get it. Be prepared if you lead millennials to do that on a regular basis. Also, career progression paths. Show them where they can go in the organization. If a role doesn't exist yet, ask your millennial to create it. They probably have ideas about where they want to go and what's coming up next for them. Integrate that technology in the workflows wherever you can. The millennials are expecting it, they want that. And also focus on that emphasis of work-life integration. Notice I said integration and not balance. It's not ever gonna balance, right? Something's always gonna get more of our attention, but can we integrate it in a more healthy way? I think we can, we've seen that. All right, millennials, agree, disagree? Some heads like, maybe, sort of me, not quite me, okay. But wait, we got our Gen Zers. Who's my Gen Z? Anybody in the room that's a Gen Z? These are our 13 to 27-year-olds. Okay, they are digital natives. They grew up with technology in their hands immediately from the time that they could use it. They are very comfortable with accepting new softwares, new tools, all kinds of things that we're experiencing in the workplace now. And they also value authenticity and social impact. They want to make a difference. They want to know that working at your organization means something. Tell them that. Tell that story. Make sure that it means something. They like multimodal communication. So what that means to me is every type of communication. I will say nobody really is talking on the phone anymore, and that's across generations. But Gen Z likes texting, they like voice messaging, they like, oh my gosh, Slack, they like Teams, they like all the things. Make sure that you give opportunity for people to use the things that light them up. And they also want some financial security and stability, don't we all? I don't know if anyone else has been watching their retirement plan lately. What a roller coaster. Yeah, I feel like we're gonna be on that ride for a while. But they have come up in a time when home ownership seems impossible. For them, it feels like it's never gonna happen. Feels like holding on to a job may or may not happen. There's a lot of instability right now for our Gen Zers especially. So what can you do if you manage a team or people on your team that are Gen Z? Leverage technology, use that for your training, for your communication. If you're 55 like me, learn it, get into it. Have fun with it. You can do such cool things now. I know we've got a lot of business partners too in the room who have amazing technology solutions. Let your Gen Z come to the demo, give you input about what they see is gonna work or not work in implementing that in their jobs. Provide some clear structure and expectations for them too. Everybody likes feedback. Give them that check-in time that they need and connect the work to a broader purpose and impact. If there's any group in the workplace right now who cares about the work and the why we do it, it's the Gen Zs more than anyone else. I get to work with a group right now who's an FQHC lookalike, and they have a lot of Gen Zers on their team. And I love this group in so many ways because they are really focused on patient care, trauma-informed care, being very sensitive to the patient needs and mental health concerns, and they also want to live that out in their daily life. Challenge. When a medical assistant says, I need to take 2 mental health days this week, and you've got a lean staff ready to take care of patients, that's a hard thing to accommodate. Yeah. So we're balancing a lot in the workplace right now, aren't we? Of trying to meet people's needs and also deliver on the business side of what we need to be doing. So consider how you can do that, how you can provide a safe space for what these strengths are in each of our generations that we're experiencing, but also how we can use them with each other. So if you've got 3 or 4 generations in the workplace, let me see the ones that have 4. Do you have all 4? Yeah. It gets a little bumpy sometimes, doesn't it? Here's some things you can do to encourage them to work better together. You can teach them how to foster mutual respect so that they're not dissing on the baby boomers, as she said, that they understand to respect one another's strengths and opportunities. You can create multiple communication styles and pathways that meet each of the generational needs. Celebrate those diverse perspectives as a strength. Surface this conversation. Is anybody having this conversation in the workplace right now? Do you talk about it, or is it just sort of this like, oh, we don't talk about it? You do. Awesome.
Our leadership team does, because we're fully remote, so it's difficult.
Yeah.
That was all.
That was all. I love it. It is difficult. And when you
Well, I'll tell a story. So we work with Moffitt Cancer Center, and we did a tour with them, like our company did. We happened to have the opportunity to do our meetings down there. And it's interesting, a young lady on our product team who's very, very bright, I just pulled her aside to ask what she thought, and she was very emotional about the experience. And this connects what you were saying about that group.
Yeah.
It's just wild, so I guess that's it.
Yeah, our Gen Zers are in touch with their emotions, folks. Like, a lot of them are in therapy, and that's okay. A lot of us could benefit from that. In fact, I have a saying, and I'll tell you this little secret. I think every single one of you needs 2 therapists in your life. I think you need a mental health therapist, because the world is nuts right now. And I think you need a good massage therapist. I have both. They're amazing. But truly, our Gen Zers can teach us a lot about emotional intelligence, about connecting with the why, connecting with the work that they do every day, and what matters to them. How interesting to have that person share that experience, maybe with the rest of the group, and what came up for her in that. But it means the rest of us who didn't grow up in a workplace that was like that. I mean, I grew up in a workplace where we said, literally, leave work at home. Does anybody else remember that? That's a home problem. Yeah. That doesn't work anymore, folks. That is not the world we live in. If that's your saying, get rid of it. Work and life interface, and we need to respect that. Now, do we still need KPIs and accountability and boundaries? Of course we do. But we can also bring in that, wow, that really hit me in the heart. That experience was very meaningful for me, and we can leverage that. I love that. Thank you for sharing. We can also identify and celebrate the individuality on our teams. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about what's different about the generations and about the individuals. And we can also recognize and address those biases. We can say, sounds like we're dissing on the baby boomers today, right? Or it sounds like you've got some preconceived notions about working with me as a Gen X that maybe aren't quite true. I love technology. I'm not scared of it. Things like that. and we can create and celebrate shared goals. That's key. Everyone likes to celebrate. Everyone likes a good party. I know you all do. I was here for a little bit last night. I saw it. And I'm very proud of you for coming to class today, because I wasn't sure we were going to have anybody in the room. So let's talk just for a few minutes about practical applications. So traditional mentoring, many of us have heard of this. This is where our senior staff share their industry knowledge, and they mentor someone who is younger than them, or maybe in a different place on the career ladder. We're all pretty familiar with this idea, and they give the career guidance and advice, and they say, well, back in my day, this is how we did things, right? What about reverse mentoring? What about that Gen Zer training that Gen X or that baby boomer in some technology skills, or helping us get over the hump of, wow, that's an interesting program I get to learn now? Giving us social media insights, telling us what's going on in the world in a way that we wouldn't be tuned into otherwise. We can also help them give us tips and tricks on how to communicate with our patients more effectively. What are Gen Z patients wanting from us? It's different than our boomers. If I can just say for a second, your patient is always going to be your cheapest employee. If your patient can pay online in the middle of the night, that's a win. So think about ways that you can leverage your patient as an employee like that and use technology to solve that. Your Gen Zers are going to be anxious for that. They're going to be saying, wow, if our companies don't do that, we are really behind the curve here. Peer mentoring, this is where you do cross-departmental knowledge sharing. So think about this for just a moment. If you're onboarding a new person and they're starting, I don't know, as a coder in the coding department, do they get the chance to sit in patient accounts for a while? Do they get the chance to go experience someone else's department during that onboarding process so that they understand the ecosystem that they are now a part of? Or do we instead say, this is your job, this is your buddy, this is where you're going to sit every day, this is your thing, and we put walls around them? Consider how that works in your organization. You could set up more formalized cross-departmental knowledge sharing. There's so much benefit in knowing what the person up or down the chain does. It's unbelievable. You can share best practices. You can have problem-solving partnerships. We created some really cool networking cohorts yesterday in our breakout where we had people in different departments and different roles all talking to each other. Look for those opportunities in your organization. Don't stay siloed. Silos create disengagement. They isolate people. And one of the things that we're experiencing in both remote and on-site work is this feeling of isolation. People feel lonely right now, and they feel scared. So we've got to do what we can to loop them into relationships and opportunities. All right, so before we go on to combating burnout and boosting engagement, anybody want to share closing thoughts on working across generations? Any other wisdom? I loved your story. Give an opportunity for you to pause. Food for thought, isn't it? When you think about your individual team and how you lead them, you might want to change some of your style and techniques to adapt. It's never too late to learn, my friends. All right, so let's talk about combating burnout and boosting engagement. So that word burnout gets thrown around a lot. We hear it a lot, but I want you to have kind of a better understanding of it. It's not just about being tired. It doesn't just mean I can't come to work today because I'm so burnt out when I'm really just fatigued. It's about losing our sense of purpose and accomplishment. And that's what drew us to our jobs in the first place. So we tell the story a lot about physician burnout, where physicians feel like they're not making a difference any longer. The reason they became a doctor is not being lived out every day. So let's talk about how we can combat some of these things and really what they are. And this, I know there's a lot of words on here, and y'all can have copies of the slides. I gave them to our meeting planners so they could pass them on, or I can send it to you as well. But this was really enlightening for me. When I started to dive into burnout, I thought it was one thing. I kind of thought it was just administrative overload. Like there's so many clicks, so much paperwork, so much documentation. If I have to do another prior auth form, right? I thought that is what created burnout. Yes, can, but also think about this. Expectation pressures. So when organizations or leaders demand really high productivity and metrics that are unachievable or that feel unachievable, that can create or contribute to burnout. And when patients are expecting things that we can't deliver due to technology issues or adoption issues, folks, I worked for Legacy for a while, I worked for Providence for a while. I joked at Providence about how we had to schedule a meeting to schedule a meeting. I mean, you know, right? The bureaucracy is real. And if people start to experience that over and over again, that creates a feeling of burnout because they cannot accomplish their goals or they cannot feel successful in their roles. So what can we do to make expectations more realistic? And let's talk for just a minute about moral injury too. I don't know if this is a term you're familiar with, but this is where we have to make decisions or implement policies that go against our ethics or our personal values. That is heavy. So I once worked for an organization where it was very clear that the main goal was profits at all costs. And so everything this organization did was about the bottom line. Now, I'm a business owner too. I get it. I have to stay in business. There's a certain point where I need to balance that, but I can also be an ethical business owner. I can also say, you know what? I'm going to make a different decision that I'm going to show up for these clients and regardless of their ability to pay, or I'm going to balance that. So when you consider this moral injury of having to do things that go against your values, for me, it was integrity. That group did not show up with integrity. And I could not sleep at night. I could not stand the decisions that they were making because they didn't have an integrity core value like I did. So that creates moral injury. And in my case, I left. You know, in my case, I said, this isn't for me. You go do you. I hope you're successful if that's what matters to you. But for me, I'm going to wake up every day and I'm going to feel good about the work that I do. And that comes to the values misalignment as well. When your personal values conflict with the organizational priorities on a regular basis, you're going to be dissatisfied. Your staff's going to be dissatisfied. You're going to be disengaged. So have any of you done your own personal values assessment, like sat down and thought about this? This is a tool I didn't bring today. You did. Did you find it valuable? Yeah. Did you just, tell me about it. Did you have a list? What did you do?
I found a process to work through it online through someone, I can't even remember now who, but, and I do it now. I started doing it about 4 years ago and I do it every year.
Nice.
And then I check in with myself every Sunday at the beginning of my week to kind of say, okay, am I living true to these values, and kind of reminding myself of examples of how I've done that over the week or examples of how I could have done things differently, and kind of use that to help just center myself for what I need to do in the coming week.
Awesome. Has it made a difference for you?
Absolutely. And, you know, I think it just, you know, there's most of the things that we deal with in our life are not black or white, they're gray, right? And everything is about trade-offs. And so it's just helpful to ground myself in, okay, well, you know, how do I want to approach this based on what, you know, I've deemed are my values and how I want to live.
What's important to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so important to find that congruity between who we are at our core and the work that we do. It is a game changer, folks. If you're in a situation right now where you're finding that dynamic is not aligning, let's talk. Because I think there's plenty of other opportunities out there. And life is too short, you know, to be in an organization or to be working in a place where you really feel like it's a misalignment of your personal values. And you can also create space for your staff to do this as well. It's a really interesting exercise to sit down. You can find just a values list online and go through and circle your own personal values, 3, 4, 5, whatever you want to focus on. But what does burnout look like? So when we start to think about this, there are those physical indicators of that chronic fatigue, that person that's calling out all the time, that they're not sleeping well. Maybe this is you. You've got frequent headaches. You've got some digestive issues. Your body will tell you, hey, something is out of alignment here. There's also some emotional indicators when you start to get cynical about work, when you start to feel like you don't matter or the work that you're doing no longer matters. If you notice that you or others are detaching from the team, people are less available. And this happens, we were talking about this yesterday, this happens, I think, more frequently with remote work because it is so isolating that if your team is at home working, in their four walls and they're not actively experiencing the connection with other humans, you can start to see this detachment show up. So watch for it. Be the type of leader that's looking for it, that's asking about it. And if you notice a consistent issue with irritability or people that are expressing dissatisfaction, surface that. Don't be afraid of emotional intelligence. Don't be afraid of having hard conversations. There's also some professional indicators, of course, like decreased productivity. Maybe somebody starts making a lot of mistakes. They're starting to make really questionable decisions, and maybe even withdrawing from responsibilities. So if you have somebody on your team who's experiencing that, notice it, call it out. If this is you, here's some practical tips, tricks, and tools you can take back. So some daily practices. Schedule and take breaks during your day. Who puts breaks on their calendar? Actually, yes! Those are my people. I love it. Put it in a block, right? Because if it's not on your calendar, it's not happening. How many of us sit and eat lunch at our desk, or we just never get up, and before we know it, it's been 5 hours? Make sure you put it on your calendar. I love this one too. Create a not to-do list of tasks. So when you start to notice like people are delegating things your way or sending things your way that you think, oh my gosh, someone else could do this more effectively. Is this the right work for me? Put it on your not to-do list. Be ready to hand that one off. And set up that focus time block in your calendar. Everybody needs focus time. We're working with complex problems and solutions a lot of the time. We need to dive in and get stuff done. That is super hard to do if you don't have time for your brain to settle into that pattern, whatever that is for you. Some people can do it in 5 minutes and they're there. Some of us need 20 or 30. That's okay. Focus time is important. And then also do some weekly practices, like the consistent weekly meetings with your team members. Do those huddles, do those one-on-ones. Ask people what's going well. I shared this yesterday. This is my favorite question to start a huddle with. If we start with what's going well, it reframes the whole conversation. Because what do we do otherwise? Oops. We come to the meeting with our list of problems. We come to all the things that need to be fixed first. Start with what's going well. Make people think about it. It could be at work, it could be at home, anything. You do it. When you wake up in the morning, ask yourself, what's going well? And then plan your following week with some buffer time. How many of us plan our week so tightly that if something goes wrong, there's no place to put it? Yeah, we do that. Stop that. Give yourself some buffer time. What's the worst thing that's gonna happen? You end up with a gap, maybe, I don't know, you get to take a walk. You get to take a friend to lunch. Like, you get this unexpected gift. That's okay too. And then also for your monthly practices, review your personal and professional goals. What's important to you? Sit down and think about these things. Connect with a mentor or a peer support group and assess your work-life balance or integration and make some adjustments. If it's not working and you feel like the hamster wheel is continuing to just turn faster and faster and faster, stop it for a minute and consider what changes you can make. So these are practical things you can do right away. All right, so before we move on to building resilient teams and a connected culture, other thoughts on burnout? Anyone wants to share? I told you this was a workshop, so. And you may not want to say, ooh, that's me. I get it. But you might be thinking, I've got some people on my team I need to talk to about this. Right? And what opportunities can I give them to shift maybe some of the work they're doing to help them be more engaged? Yeah, question, I love it.
Can you kind of talk to, for people that are experiencing it or people maybe that have been experiencing it for some time, is there ever a point where it's too late or maybe it's just time to start over, or what is that?
Yeah, do you mean like to leave the role or start over someplace else? Or?
Or is there a way to really intentionally come back out of that and get back to the passion into the day-to-day?
Absolutely. I think what I would say about that, and I do coaching with leaders where we kind of start with this values concept. and we say, are my personal values still aligned with my role, my organization, their mission and values, the direction they're going? Because if we can ground ourselves with that, just like your corporation should be doing, you can make a different decision if that's what you need to do. So I think if you find, like I did, that there was such a gap, we're talking Grand Canyon size gap here, between who I wanted to be and how I wanted to show up for work every day and what my employer was doing, I think then it becomes a different conversation of maybe this isn't the place for you anymore, and that's okay. I think what we need to also be able to say is that chapter worked for us at that time, and it's no longer serving us, right? Or something's changed. I've changed, the company's changed, my boss has changed. I don't know, it could be a lot of things. But I think we need to be real with saying it's okay to let go sometimes. It's okay to say, like, I've done my best here, or this isn't who I am in this moment, and I need something different. Or maybe this person on your team needs to hear that. Maybe they're trying every possible way that they can, and they're just not finding that alignment. That's okay too. Yeah, we need to give ourselves permission, I think, to make those hard decisions. And to know that sometimes it's scary, because you don't know. I didn't know if I started my business in July of 2020, if that was a good idea. I mean, good grief, everyone was like, really? But I had this thought in the back of my head, like if this doesn't work out, my skills are never gonna leave me. I've still managed practices for 25 years, right? Like, I can go back and do that. That's something I could fall back on. I mean, shoot, I could, do lots of different things. I'm a capable human. So I'm gonna try this, and we'll see what happens. And I think sometimes we just need permission to be brave and to make the hard choices and to feel support from our family and our loved ones and the people around us to say, I got you. If we're eating beanies and weenies for a week and, rice and beans, whatever, because our salary is not gonna be what it once was, that's okay, I'm there with you. And I'll help you. So, yeah, it comes down to being able to have those hard conversations. Remember what I said about the 2 therapists, right? Both really helpful. That's a great question. Yeah, sometimes it's okay to let go. Other thoughts? Or to encourage others to let go. All right, so how do we build a resilient and connected workplace culture? If we lead teams, we have a lot to do with this. Remember how I said it comes from the top? This is so true. There are so many great practices we can put into place here, but let's talk first about what resilience is. So you probably have an idea in your mind, but I wanted to give you sort of the Wikipedia definition here. So technically, resilience is a noun, and it means the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties or toughness. It also is the ability of a substance or an object to spring back into shape. It's elasticity. And it's the ability to respond, absorb, and adapt to, as well as recover from, a disruptive event. Have we had any disruption in the last 5 years? Healthcare is a constant disruption. I mean, gosh, even before COVID, we went through a lot of changes. And I mean, ICD-10 and MIPS, and I could just keep going like back. I started this career when I was typing HCFAs on a typewriter. I kid you not. And doing, I don't even remember what it was called. Oh, pegboard accounting. Anybody go back as far as that where you were actually recording okay, you probably don't know what I'm talking about, but that's okay. It has been a lot of disruption, a lot of opportunities, a lot of great ways that we could practice resilience. But especially in the last 5 months, in the last 5 years, so many things here. But what I want you to think about when it comes to resilience is you need to go through a disruptive event to be able to experience resilience. As uncomfortable as that feels, that's how we grow. That's what creates that springing. That's what creates our opportunity to move forward, is going through some disruption. Has anyone ever seen this feelings wheel before? No? Okay. When I speak to therapists, they're all like, yes, I use this in my practice. Okay, so you can't really see it as clearly as I'd like, but basically what this is it's a tool to help you feel your feelings. Many of us grew up in places or situations or in workplaces where we were told, again, your feelings don't matter here. We just want you to come in and do the work, right? So we've turned off a lot of our feelings, or we use things called umbrella terms. So when we look at those in the middle, and I'll just read them off really quickly for you, going from the inside out, we have surprised, sad, fearful, angry, disgusted, sad, and happy. So we tend to use these umbrella terms and say things like, I feel really happy today, or I am happy today. But really, why? What does that mean? And what you can do when you're experiencing an emotion is you can pull this out and say, but what's underneath that? What's really going on? So if we look at the term happy, that's the orange section there, the words that fall underneath it are things like accepted, valued, thankful. Those are the true emotions that you're experiencing in that time. It's not just happy. So see if you can practice getting to what the core emotion really is. Whether we would label it good or bad, doesn't matter. There's actually something that's deeper that's going on than that umbrella emotion. And what I would suggest is practice this experience. Check in with yourself. What am I feeling in this moment? What's coming up for me? Oh, okay, I feel happy. And why? And what does that really mean? What's underneath that? And get used to naming and accepting all of your emotions, even the bad ones. Many of us, I think we tend to raise females in this way especially. We teach people that some emotions are bad, right? Anger is bad, all of those things. But you know what? They're real, they're experiences. We need to name them and understand them. And then this is key, and I'm still working on this one. Separate yourself from the emotion. And what I mean by that is instead of saying, I am angry, practice saying, I feel upset or I feel disappointed. You are not the emotion itself. You are not anger. You are not angry. You are feeling, you are experiencing an emotion. See the difference? May not sound like much, but it is impactful. Practice that. You can use this with your spouse, your kids, your family. By the way, this isn't, bonus content here. It's not just for work. Good stuff. Also, a really amazing book to share by Susan David called Emotional Agility. She also has a really great TED Talk if you're looking for diving deeper into what that looks like. One of the things that I really like to encourage is expressing gratitude. And I am not a journaler. I am the first person to tell you I do not like journaling. It does not work for me. That's okay. Maybe it works for you. Lovely. What does work for me is the sticky note system. And let me tell you about my sticky note system. So at the end of every day, I sit down. I love 3x3 sticky notes. Anybody else? Love sticky notes. Whoever invented sticky notes is like, oh, to me. End of the day, I come up with something that went well or that I'm grateful for. Could be anything. Could be a conversation that I thought was going to be hard. Could be a task that I accomplished. Could be anything. I write myself a sticky note. I take that sticky note home and I put it on the dash of my car as I'm driving my little 7-minute commute, because I'm really, really spoiled and I have a 7-minute commute. So I get to see it on the dash of the car as I'm driving home. When I get home, put it on the mirror in the bathroom. What happens in the morning? You're brushing your teeth, looking in the mirror. What's looking at you? All this cool stuff, right? Look what you accomplished. Look what you're grateful for. It's coming back at you. Some of you maybe don't have bosses, or you have bosses that are kind of distant. Maybe they're not giving you this feedback, telling you, good job on that thing. Tell yourself. Make this a habit. Share this with your team as well. Tell them what you're grateful for. Make it prompt, personal, and plentiful. Yes?
I was reading a sales book, and one of the things they talked about, a bad habit that people will do is after a meeting, they'll write down the things that they did wrong.
Yeah.
And what happens is there's a neurology that goes with that, and that's you're training your brain. If you write down the things that you do wrong, you're training your brain to continue to do those things wrong. And so
You're
after a
reinforcing
meeting,
it.
yeah, so what I do now, they say, is after a meeting, write down the things you did well.
Yes.
And then that will reinforce what you do well.
Absolutely. I love that.
I thought you would.
He's like, we got you. Yes. Do that, more of that. Remind yourself, tell your body, write it down. There is something really true about viscerally writing things down and how it connects with our brains and helps us remember and makes it real. And also, how many of you manage staff? You have people, yeah, like pretty much everybody here, right? Most of the time. If you don't send or give thank you, grateful feedback very often, your team knows it. They feel it. And here's the key. Be prompt, make it personal, and be plentiful in giving this out. Don't be stingy with your gratefulness and your thank yous. So I'm going to tell you a little quick story about this too. So worked for a company once who gave everyone a certificate at the holidays for either a Christmas ham or a Christmas turkey. That sounds really generous, right? Wow. What about my vegetarian and my vegan friends? What did they get? Pat on the back. They got to see their friends go get something for dinner, right? Like, how personal is that? How meaningful is that? How much does that show that you know me or that my organization really cares about me as a person? It doesn't. So think about that. You can create something as simple as a favorites list. I love this. When you hire a new employee, consider having them fill out a brief favorites list. You could have 10 questions. My favorite coffee drink, my favorite chocolate bar, my favorite whatever, game to play, whatever it might be. Make this list. Here's a question that should absolutely be on this list. I like to be recognized publicly or privately. Next level, right? Some people don't want you to stand up and throw them a party at the all-staff meeting. Some people are really embarrassed by that. Wouldn't it be cool if we recognize that humans are different and have different needs? Yeah. So a favorites list can be a great way to get to know people. Here's another next level way to use that. Don't hide that list in your office or on your online files somewhere. Make it available to the entire team. Why might I want to do that? Does anybody do this? Back in the day when we all worked together, we had one of these in the lunchroom, but now it's more remote. I'm not surprised. Tell me about your list.
At Salem Health, we have a whole Teams channel that has the shared files, and we keep a spreadsheet for the entire team of their favorites. If they want to be publicly recognized, they can add their addresses on there. Nice. And if one of the team members just want to send a thank you or a little present, they can just pick off that list.
That's the key.
Yep.
Recognition does not have to come from the boss. Recognition and acknowledgement can be from anyone on the team. So I was working in a practice once where we had a 3-ring binder and everybody's favorites list was in the 3-ring binder. And when somebody came in late to work or they covered for you or there was some way you wanted to recognize them, you could go to the binder and you could figure out how to recognize them and be grateful to them in a way that mattered to them. That's what matters. Yeah. Sorry, Patrick, you gotta go back.
We also, for our department, we have a newsletter. And we encourage our team to, if a team member does something wonderful for you, to give them a kudos, call out on that newsletter. And then for every kudos you send in, you get put into a drawing. So every quarter they get a gift card of some kind if they get picked.
Nice. I love it. And is it a gift card that matches what's on their favorites list?
I think it's Amazon.
Oh, okay, well, Amazon has everything.
Yes,
so
it
yeah,
has everything.
That one does actually cover all the bases. But think about this. How are you recognizing people on your team and allowing them to recognize each other in a way that's prompt, personal, and plentiful? Everybody needs this. Everybody wants the pat on the back, right? Everybody loves a gift card. I think it matters, though, where you get the gift card, whether it's what the person wants. If they don't eat turkey, don't give them a Christmas turkey, please. Okay. Maybe they don't celebrate Christmas. I mean, there's so many things there. So let's talk about combating loneliness and ways that you can do this. Oh, that white font just barely shows up. So one thing I'm going to suggest to you is that you intentionally work on staying connected to other people. If you don't, and you work in a remote situation, or you work for yourself, or you work in a business like that, it can be very easy to just slide right into doing your thing and not talking to another human. So intentionally stay connected. Go out of your way. Put it on your calendar. Here's another great key. Serve others. Volunteer. Find your passion. Whether it's church or social or business clubs or peer groups, serving others, being on a committee with HFMA, like so many things you can do. Giving back feeds our brain that dopamine that we're looking for as well. So volunteering, serving others, staying intentionally connected. This is something I try to do whenever it comes up for me. I'll think about somebody that I haven't talked to for a while, and I'll kind of wonder, like, how are they doing? Instead of just letting that thought go away and going on to my day, I'd send them a quick text or an email. I'd say, hey, I'm thinking about you. Are you nodding your head? Yeah, this is important. Like, don't you love to get those texts or those emails when somebody says, I was just thinking about you? How does that feel? Amazing. And it takes us a minute and a half. It's not long at all. You could do this with your team too. Hey, I noticed something was bothering you this morning, or you mentioned your dog was sick, or whatever it might be. Just checking in. You don't need to respond if they're going through something heavy, that you can just say that. There's an amazing thing I didn't write on your worksheet or put on here, but there's a book called There Is No Good Card for This. Anybody ever heard of that book? So great. Write this one down. There is no good card for this. And it gives you the language that we often struggle with for when someone's going through something that you're not sure what to say. Maybe it's a recent cancer diagnosis, or they're going through a divorce, or that heavy stuff that happens. Get yourself that book. It's incredibly helpful. And then use it. And actually reach out to people when you know they're struggling, or when you're just thinking about them and you want them to know. All right, so we can talk for a few minutes about shifting our own mindsets and teaching others to shift theirs. So how many of you feel this way? Oh my gosh, another regulatory change I have to implement. Yeah, like all the time we feel this way, don't we? Well, what if we shifted our mindset to, wow, it's actually a chance for us to strengthen our compliance program, make sure we're doing the things that we say we're doing. Why don't we take this opportunity to not only implement that, but actually look at the bigger picture? What about, that person is so difficult to manage. Here's an opportunity for me to enhance my leadership skills. And I know it sounds a little cheesy, but even if you just change the phrasing that goes on in your own mind to the words, I get to, instead of I have to, it will be life-changing. I get to work with a team. I get to coach people. I get to talk to my Gen Zers about showing up to work on time and why it matters, right? I get to strengthen my leadership skills. And then we think about problems like this. Oh, my workload is just overwhelming. But is it an opportunity for us to improve our systems, or to implement some technology, or do something that's going to impact the team on a wider scale? Oh my gosh, I'm so tired of being interrupted. People interrupt me all the time. What can I delegate to other people? What workflows can we improve so that they stop calling me about the dumb stuff, right? Or the easy little things. Also, criticism to feedback. So you get complaints about wait times, or your phone system is clunky, or people are waiting on hold for too long. One more time, this is a process improvement opportunity. Patients are telling you they're waiting on hold for too long, take that feedback and do something about it. Please, I beg you. I beg you. Here's another thing. Call yourself. Call yourself. Call your own department. What happens? You might be surprised. Your phone tree might be so convoluted. Your hold times might be out of control. Your staff may be being rude and you don't know it. Be your own secret shopper. Please do this. So many opportunities to do process improvement work just by shifting our mindsets. And as I've said before, creating a resilient culture and creating a healthy work culture begins with leadership. So the fact that, again, you're all here this weekend, you came to this to learn something, to grow, to develop yourself, that's huge. I work sometimes with leaders who are stuck. They don't want to know. They're perfectly happy with their head in the sand. So I'm proud of all of you for showing up, and especially this morning. But remember that this starts with you, and you get to share it with your team. So ways that you can connect with the members of your team more effectively: ask them for feedback. How many of you do 360s, or you ask for feedback from your team about how you are as a leader? A few of you? Not as many as I'd like. You know why we don't do it? It's scary. A lot of us don't want to know. I'm just going to say it. We don't want to get feedback from our team, because what if they tell us something that hurts a little? What if they say something that's like, ooh, I should probably change that, right? I'm here to tell you, be brave. I'm here to tell you, you might get feedback that you're very proud of as well. And if you do get some that's a little ouchy, that's an opportunity. Work on the ouchies. Say thank you for the feedback. And even if in that moment you're not ready to hear it, the words are, thank you for the feedback. And you grit your teeth and you think about it, okay? And good leaders also define and communicate their own values. So we've been talking about values a lot today. But talk about what's important to you. If integrity is important to you, if timeliness is important to you, if people answering their emails is important to you, talk about that. Hey, when I send you an email and you don't respond for 12 days or ever, I don't know that you've heard me. Have that conversation with your team about what's important. And then make sure that you're celebrating and acknowledging life's moments, even in the workplace. There are so many things we can celebrate, so many good things happening. And it's really easy to get focused on the scary, stressful, whatever things, right? Potentially negative things. But like, okay, who are my dog people? Dog people? Yeah. How would you feel if I asked you about your dog? Would you tell me? Yeah. Would you show me pictures? I love it. Yeah. So there are things that are super exciting. Like maybe you got a new puppy in the last year. Maybe your dog had babies. I don't know, whatever. Celebrate those things that are life's moments. Maybe you have a new grandchild. Maybe you have a new spouse. It could be anything. Let's talk about that. Maybe you have a birthday this month. Let's talk about that. What are you going to do? Let's celebrate it. Let's recognize each other's humanity. We are not robots. If COVID taught us one thing, it was that humans are not robots. We are all fragile individuals who want to be connected to other individuals. And we as leaders get to build cultures where that happens. Yes?
I have a question for you. Good
Sure.
morning. Thank you for your energy. You're incredibly inspiring. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So I have a little bit of a conflict, just from a management standpoint, that I do one-on-ones with my team every week. And I'm trying to figure out that balance between professional and personal connection.
Yeah.
I'd love your feedback on that.
So tell me more. Are you thinking, have they invited you to be Facebook friends and you don't want to be? Or like, tell me more.
It's just sometimes there's not topics to discuss, and I still want to touch base.
Oh, sure.
And so I think there's the gentle, how was your weekend? What are your plans? How's your
Sure.
family? But I think there's a fine line there.
Yeah, I think boundaries are still important.
Right.
And I think you have to judge with that individual what they're willing to share. And one of the ways you might want to approach it is like, if they said something about something, bring that back around. So, oh, you mentioned you were going to the coast last weekend. Did you have a good time? Mm-hmm. Would you mind telling me about that? What your favorite place to go or thing to do was? Use their feedback as your gauge.
Okay.
Sometimes when people shut down, it's because they don't feel safe or they just don't want to talk about personal things with their boss.
Well, and I think all of us as leaders know we can't be a friend first.
But it's a balancing act, isn't it?
It is a balancing act.
Because you want to be supportive, you want to treat people with respect. But what I would say about that is maybe you don't go drinking at the bar on Friday nights together, right? Like there's a difference.
I only do that here.
But there's a difference between, and of course,
Are there boundaries here?
Right?
I don't know.
Wait, this is like Vegas here. We're not talking about here. But in the workplace, I know it gets a little tricky. But I think it's possible to care a lot about the people that you work with, and to still, not necessarily invite them over to your home, or make them your house sitter or stuff like that. There's a line sometimes, because always be thinking about, what if this goes south? What if this goes poorly? What is my exit strategy?
So I want to offer some advice on the other side of that, because my boss and I have a touch base every 11 a.m. every Monday, and I don't want to talk about my weekend. So, what do you need?
Fair.
Let's go. I'm hitting the ground running. It's Monday morning. Bulleted.
Bullet points. I love it.
Move on. So I would say too, if the balance between that. Also know the people in your communication style, because I have touch points with a number of people every week. They're VPs of health systems. They don't have time.
Right.
And actually, the best part about it is if I don't need anything, hey, everything good? All right, here you go. You have time back. See you later. I'll talk to you next week. So it can be very efficient too.
It can be.
So I was just going to follow up on that. I think that's part of making a personal connection, is finding out what somebody's communication style is and what they want, right? So if somebody is like, when we meet, I just want to get to the point, that is, the supervisor caring about their employees and how they like to operate.
Yes.
And I think it's going to really connect and resonate well.
I have a slide about that. Yes, you're
Awesome.
absolutely right. It is so true. It's about the individual. And what I want you to know about this last point too is, when you appreciate intentionally, you recognize that one gift does not fit all. Not everybody likes Starbucks, right? Not everybody wants to shop at Amazon. Not everybody wants that Christmas ham or whatever I was saying earlier. You need to appreciate intentionally and know that one gift does not fit all, one communication style does not fit all. That's a really good segue into what's coming up next. Okay, so how can you build that connection? Let's say you inherited a new team or you've hired some new people. You can work on building trust with them. Trust is a two-way street, right? You have to give it and get it. And you can communicate with intention, so be clear about what you're saying and how you're saying it, and talk about these opportunities for shared goals and expectations. Everyone wants clarity. We all want to know what's expected of us. I guarantee you, when you hire a new employee, they're trying to do a good job for you. They didn't come to work for you to fail. They just don't always understand what you need from them. So let's get into the weeds a little bit here. As a leader, these are the behaviors that you should be demonstrating because they build trust. Have an ongoing dialogue about what trust looks like on your team. Does trust look like you have flexible hours? I trust that you're going to get the work done. You don't have to clock in and clock out within 7 minutes of your start time and end time. That's what trust looks like on our team. You talk about clear expectations. This is the number of accounts I need you to touch every week. These are the ways I need you to make notes in the accounts. This is the accountability. This is the KPIs I'm looking for. This one's key. As a leader, you build trust by being responsive. If you're too busy, people know that. I worked for a boss once who told me that they don't do email. What? It's 2025. How do you not do email? Of course you do email. You do it badly. You don't actually read it, but that was not a great leader. You need to be responsive. Your team needs to know that you're available. Now, do you have to be available at 9 o'clock at night? No. You can set boundaries too, but be responsive when you need to be. This is a key one too. Don't tolerate gossip and backbiting and team drama. Don't do that. Be the kind of leader that calls it out and says, we don't do that here. I noticed you said this about this other person. Just to clarify, that's not how we show up in this office. Letting you know that right away. So especially when you have new people joining your team, be super clear about what's accepted and what's not. Take an interest in and learn about your coworkers and your fellow team members. Now, boundaries are important here, like we talked about. Sometimes people are going to say, I don't want to tell you about my home life. Okay, that's cool. I'm still going to show you my puppy pictures because I think they're amazing. And then exhibit some integrity. So make sure that you're doing what you say you're going to do, please. You can see this is a button for me. This is a core value for me. But I think leaders sometimes miss the mark here. And they don't show up with integrity, and they're not reliable, or they get buried in emails and they use that as an excuse for leading poorly. Don't be that leader. All right, so communicating with intention, what does that mean? Starting off those meetings when you connect with others with what's going well, what are you grateful for, what are you passionate about right now, what's something you learned recently? I love that question. I lead several Zoom groups where people just get together and network with each other, and I like asking people, what have you learned recently? You know why? Because I always learn something. Like, they'll tell me something, it doesn't have to be about work even. I'll be like, dang, that's interesting. I didn't know that. What's something you're proud of? What's something you're curious about? I should have given you all these before last night so you could gone around the room and asking people, what have you learned recently, right? These are great connection questions. If you sell a product and you want to go and get to know somebody, ask them these types of questions. You know, we always get used to like, well, what's your pain point? Stuff like that. Ask them what they've learned recently. It totally changes the tenor. What are you proud of? You can set some team expectations. What are we going to say? When are we going to say it? And how are we going to say it, especially around conflict? If you two don't agree, this is how we show up here. These are the expectations. This is our code of conduct in our department. This is what we agree to. Get people's buy-in to these concepts. Start to create a culture where it's expected. Here are some really great questions that you can use to make your connection stronger. So you can ask these up or down. What are you good at doing? And what work do you enjoy? Do you see how those are separate questions? I might be really good at something, but I hate it. How about if you started asking the people who report to you, what are you good at doing, but also what do you enjoy? And they're like, well, actually, I really enjoy making tables in Excel and like doing visual displays of information. And you'd be like, holy cow, I struggle with that every month. Can I make you the guru of that particular thing? Ask people what work feels most useful or meaningful for them. Let them do more of that if you can. Make opportunity for that. Ask them what work creates a sense of forward momentum. And then this one also, ask people how they like to work with others. Synchronous, asynchronous, in-person, remote. These are great interview questions, folks. Anybody hiring right now? Few of you maybe? Yeah, great interview questions. Get to know people differently and their interests before you hire them. Ask people about giving and receiving feedback. So this was going to piggyback on his comments. When you've received helpful, constructive feedback in the past, how was it delivered? Did they do it in person? Did they send you an email in the dead of night? What works for you? Was it a quick text? Find out. What type of recognition is most meaningful to you? What matters? Do you want a thank you note? Do you want a present? Hey, if you told me you got a brand new Nespresso machine and I sent you some sleeves of my favorite flavors, would that matter to you? Like, is that a cool thing? You know, get to know your people. What's your natural response under stress? This is a question to ask yourself. I asked this question once in an interview, and the person answered, I twirl my hair. And I was like, oh, that's so interesting. She has a tell. Like, oh, now I know. She's stressed out. She's going to start twirling her hair. That's important. And when you're under stress, so I said next, when you start twirling your hair, what do you need from me? How can I support you if I notice that? If you're starting to check out or whatever your stress response is. And then ask people too, what else would be helpful for me to know about your preferences and expectations? See what I'm doing here? I'm creating psychological safety. I'm building relationship. I'm building trust. I'm getting past the, I need you to come into work on time and deliver these results. I'm treating people as human and not as robots. This is key to holding on to great people. If you get to give feedback to people, notice I said get to. Instead of saying something like, man, you're hard to work with. That's not helpful, by the way. You could say something like, I noticed, when I say this, you say that. Or I heard, or I observed, I saw, I was told. Stick to the facts. Be very specific. And by the way, if you're a leader who needs to document these memos to file in these coaching opportunities, your HR person will love you if you do this. Document the facts. Talk about the impact. When you said this, when you were rude to the patient on the phone because you said X, Y, Z, that is feedback. If you can't give a specific example, you are not ready to provide feedback. It just means you don't like the person very much. She said that out loud. I've been there. I know there's some people it's really hard to work with, but you need to be able to give specific feedback that is helpful and timely. Ask about how often people want to be checked in with. So this kind of piggybacks on this too. Do you like a weekly report, a bi-weekly report, a monthly report? What works for you? This is amazing. If you start a new job and you're working with a new boss, ask them this. If you have new direct reports, ask them this too. Do you prefer scheduled appointments or do you want me to just do a drive-by? What works for you? If I need to interrupt you, how would you prefer that I do that? So I get the opportunity to work as an interim practice administrator on occasion. So I get dropped into these practices that have just lost their leader for sometimes good reasons, sometimes questionable ones, right? But they're like, here, come and run the place for a while. This is so crucial because if I don't get to know this important information in the beginning, we're gonna struggle working together, right? I wanna know, is this a doc I can stop on his lunch break or please never interrupt him? And it depends on the specialty, am I right? So depends on the specialty. But ask people these questions. It makes it so much better for us to work together. Here are some more scripts. I told you I was going to give you some really tactical stuff today. If you want to express partnership with somebody, tell them, I really want to work on this with you. I bet we can figure this out together. We make a great team. That is so validating. If you need to express empathy for someone, say something like, I can feel your enthusiasm when you're talking right now, or I can hear your concern. Acknowledgement. You clearly put a lot of work into this and it shows. Or you've invested a lot of time, or your expertise is really showing up here. Instead of saying, great job. Great job? How do I duplicate great job? I'm sitting there as an employee processing this. What does that mean? Great job with the spreadsheet, great job with the work that it took to build the spreadsheet, great job on the results. What's the great job? Tell me. Give me the opportunity to do it again. If you want to express support, you can say something like, I'd like to help you with this, or I want to see you succeed. Just clarifying that. I'm giving you this feedback because I want to see you succeed. Wow. I can think of some bosses that I would have loved to hear that from. That is so meaningful. You could say something like, I've always appreciated your creativity, or there's no doubt that you know a lot about this, or just legitimizing their feelings. This would be hard for anyone. You're right. This is really a challenge. Am I running out of time? No. Okay. I just need to see there's Oh, okay. You can also say something like, well, who wouldn't be worried about something like this? You can validate their feelings. I understand this project is new for you. It's gonna feel awkward. I have full faith you can accomplish this. Let's do it together. Walk alongside your people like that. Here's some great questions to use for your one-on-ones. What's important for us to discuss today? If it's nothing, great. You got some time back. Go take a walk, go buy a coffee, whatever it is. Tell me about your biggest obstacle to success right now. What's in your way? How can I remove it as your leader? Or how can I help you remove it? What are you proud of since our last meeting? What can I help you celebrate? And what are you most disappointed about since our last meeting? You'll learn a lot just by asking those 4 questions. If your boss isn't asking you those 4 questions, flip the script. Bring it to your next one-on-one. Let me tell you what I'm most proud about since our last meeting. Let me tell you where I'm stuck, where I need your help. Fine, you bring the agenda. If they're not as evolved and educated as you all are, that's okay. You can flip the script and be that person. All right, so we're gonna talk about goals for just a minute and celebrating and creating some shared goals. So we're gonna talk about, again, what will we do? So if we meet that goal, if we reduce our answer time to 8 seconds from 25 seconds or whatever it is, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna celebrate? And when will we do it? Get clear about that stuff. And then here's what's key too. Just because you did it once doesn't mean you don't get to celebrate it again. So you met the goal the one time. What if you continue to meet the goal? Can you come back to your team and say, oh my gosh, we are continuing to meet this goal. Like, you all are blowing me away right now. You kept that answer time at 8 seconds for the last 90 days. That could be a new thing to celebrate. We forget to throw ourselves parties. We do. We'll set these sometimes achievable, sometimes really hard stretch goals, and even when we meet them, we forget to really celebrate it. So ask your team, what does celebrate look like for them? Some people want a pizza party, some people don't. That's okay. What does it look like? Remember how we talked about recognizing what people's individual interests are? Figure out what that is. So reward that teamwork and celebrate your group's successes. That will make your workplace a much more engaging place. It'll make you a better boss and a better leader, and frankly, it will make you more engaged. You will get more excited about coming to work every day. Invest in your employees financially and emotionally. Send your employees to continuing education opportunities. Do it. Figure out what's right for them. Help them create a career ladder. Find the funds. Put it into your budget however you have to. Sometimes I would move things from the employee recognition fund over into the employee development fund, or I'd find it somewhere and we'd cut supply expenses and we'd put it over here. But investing in your people always pays off. And then cultivate trust by encouraging open, healthy, candid communication. This is how we talk to each other around here. We talk directly with each other, we support each other, we show up for one another. Who's doing employee engagement surveys? Annual surveys, once a year? Yeah. How about quarterly? Few of you, awesome. You could even do a focus group. I love this idea. If you're thinking about adding a new benefit or something and you're a large organization, bring together some stakeholders and say, we're thinking about offering pet sitting as an employee benefit. Would that be cool for you? Like, let's get creative about this stuff and ask your focus groups what is important to them. But this is key too. Don't ask every question under the sun. If you have control over this, and you could even do this in your own department, you could use the big system-wide employee engagement survey, but also, what if you just surveyed your department? Find out what matters to them. Find out what dials you can turn and actually ask those questions. Don't ask questions about the parking lot if you can't control the parking lot, right? That kills me. I see things like that. So this is interesting. I want you to see this in the order in which it's presented. Employees ask for the following things on the surveys. In this order. In this order. In this order. Opportunities to learn and grow. A positive culture with no or few toxic behaviors. Trustworthy leadership. Having a voice that's listened to. Recognition, and compensation and benefits. That's not first? Wait a minute. It's not. It is not. Now, do you have to pay competitive wages and benefits? Of course you do. I'm not saying you can pay people under market value, but it is not the most important thing. People come to work and they want opportunities to learn and grow. Does that blow anybody else's mind just a little bit? Yeah. I think it's really fascinating. So some more questions here. Asking your employees these things to help them find their purpose. What are they good at? What do they enjoy? What work feels most meaningful and useful? I'm going to speed up just a little bit. All right. So that's a whole lot of homework for you as a leader to take back to your team and actually implement. What, if anything, resonated out of that? I'd love to hear like one piece of feedback. You're all like, I got this. I do this every day. I'm fine. Yes, yes, integrity in ourselves, in our work, accountability from our employees. Oh, I'm glad you heard that. Yes. Anything else? I saw you taking some pictures. That's awesome. Hopefully there's some good scripts in here that you can come back and use. Okay. So let's close this session thinking about our own blind spots and enhancing our own job satisfaction. Because you might be struggling today. I'm just saying, I know some of you are like, am I in the right place doing the right thing today? Maybe you are, maybe you're not. Here's some opportunities. You can prioritize your own growth by using some regular self-assessments. There's a lot of great stuff out there. There's MBTI, there's DISC, there's Strengths Finders. There's a values list that you can just sit down once and circle. Whole bunch of things here you can do to get to know yourself better, understand your own communication styles, and find your own blind spots. And be open to feedback. I know it's scary, but ask for it and process it and learn from it. And align your work with your values and purpose So take time to figure out what your own core values are and make sure it aligns with the work that your organization is doing. If you're feeling that friction every day, that will come through to your heart, your family, your body, your mind, every little piece. Make sure that you find that. And then as we think about some professional growth opportunities, identify and set your own progressive career goals. Where do you want to go from here? What's next for you, potentially? What opportunities exist? You know, I wasn't finding exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a consultant when I grew up. I knew that. I didn't know how. I didn't know what it meant exactly. I tried to do it in a large health system where they kept putting me in as interim for different departments. I was like, ooh, I get to be a consultant, sort of. But they wouldn't create a position for that. So frankly, between me and you in the room here, that little 7% salary bump for managing 2 departments at the same time, that didn't cut it. Yeah, y'all been there? Not fair. So I thought, what else could I do? I could figure out a way to do this on my own. I couldn't find a career path where I was, so I made one. You can do the same thing. Maybe it's starting your own business, maybe it's working for somebody else, but there are opportunities out there. Go after those professional certifications. They matter. And not only do the letters matter, folks, it's the learning that matters. It's the experience. It's what you get to go through to get that, to earn that designation that matters. Obviously, attending conferences, things like this matter a lot as well. Invest in yourself. So let's say you are a new leader. Maybe you've been new to the role and you're not sure, how do I do this job? Think about some opportunities you might have to develop your own team management skills, learn about how to motivate staff, how to do conflict resolution, performance management, change leadership, HR regulations. Maybe that's a blind spot for you and you need to work on that. Get real with yourself and go, I kind of avoid conflict. Or I don't like telling people they have to show up to work on time. What can I do about that? Learn that. Strategic thinking. Maybe this is a weak spot for you. You need to learn better problem-solving skills, better decision-making skills, innovation management, risk assessments. There's so much to our leadership jobs that we can develop in ourselves. And there's some great resources for these things too. Maybe you don't know everything you need to know about the business side, and you need to learn budgeting and revenue cycle management more clearly. You need to learn how to make better revenue decisions, how to cost control. So I'm going to tell you another secret. So I've been in the practice administration world for decades. Every time I teach people, because I teach younger, newer leaders how to read a P&L, and I have one, I show them an example, and I say, well, what do you know about this? The very first thing they do is they go to the expense side of the equation. Not a single one goes to the revenue side. So I've got this P&L that's out of balance, and I say, what would you do? And they're like, cut expenses. Okay, well, what if we could maybe earn a little more money? Like, it's a mind-blowing concept for them. Why is that? I feel like that's what they teach in MBA school, but I'm not dissing on MBAs. Anyway, it's not all about expense cutting, folks. Sometimes it's about revenue generation. So figure out ways to generate more revenue. What KPIs are you managing? What KRAs are you managing? Your operations improvement skills. So many things you can grow and develop in yourself. But first you have to get real about what those gaps might be. Oh my gosh, technology right now. Like, I feel like we could have a full-time job just learning what's even out there. There's so much development going on in the tech space, so many opportunities here. Maybe you need help learning how to build better reports, or how to navigate Excel better, or use your business intelligence software, using those clinical decision support tools. You could use this as a guideline to like write your own performance review. Where are my weak spots? Oh, I give myself a 5 on that one. Oh, I get a 1 over here. Use this as a tool for yourself. And I just want to close with adapting to some industry changes here. So one of our trends is we've got this, evolving landscape by the minute, right? What legislation is passing or not passing, or where are we, and all of these things. So what can you do? Well, stay up to date as much as you can. Don't drown yourself in daily news, because that's easy to do as well. But find out who the relevant sources of information are for your business, and subscribe to those, and make it a priority to stay up to speed on those things. Attend webinars that might be valuable for you so that you can see what's coming. Also thinking about AI coming and virtual assistants. Anybody using virtual assistants from the Philippines? Yeah. Good experience?
Not from the Philippines.
Okay, where are yours from?
With just a virtual assistant. Through an AI company.
Oh, Renee, iCompany, okay. Gotcha. Yes. Yes. We can't be scared. We got to try stuff. Yes. And maybe we'll fail. We got to normalize failure. We got to be like, yeah, we're going to implement this new phone system and it's probably going to suck for a week, but we're going to be okay. We're going to do our best. We're going to get through it, right? Normalize that failure and try some stuff. We've got shifts in patient demographics and expectations. People want what they want right now. Who's your cheapest employee, everybody? Your patient, yes. Let them do as much as possible. And then we think about staffing and workforce dynamics. We've got workforce shortages, or let's call them imbalances. Some employees over here, but not employees over here. We've got tremendous opportunity to train people, but we've got to create infrastructure to be able to do that. Please don't hire someone, hand them their job description, and expect them to be successful in 90 days. Please don't do that. Give them a structured onboarding process to train and support them and bring them up. All right, so recapping our objectives. We had a lot of road to cover today, but we started with the generational dynamics and the differences that we're facing in the workforce and how we've got 4 generations all interacting with each other and the inherent biases and stereotypes that we have about that. Then we talked about combating burnout and boosting engagement and what we can do for ourselves and others and building a resilient and connected workplace culture. And then we ended with identifying our own blind spots, taking the time to do your own self-assessment of where you are now and where you want to go in the future. Any other questions as we close out our morning together? This has been a fun chat. Thanks for engaging with me. Yes, questions. Thanks, Patrick. Or even thoughts.
I wanted to go back to when we were talking about the generational piece. You mentioned the Gen Zer who's like, I need 2 mental health days.
Yes.
And my very Gen X response is, oh my gosh, we are losing all sense of resiliency.
Right.
And so talk me off a ledge, maybe, in how to manage that
I
person.
wish. Yeah, I think, I don't know that I have the answer to that. I think what I would say is, clear accountability and expectations still need to exist. So if they need 2 mental health days and it fits into your PTO policy or your time off policy or whatever, great. You give it to them, you flex with them, you figure out a way to adapt. If it doesn't, you talk about that. You say, okay, well, this is our policy. I taught a word to the group yesterday and we were in our breakout session. Do you remember my magic word? Nevertheless. Magic word. I'll leave this with you today. Nevertheless. I understand you need to take a couple of days off. Nevertheless, you've run out of paid time off. Nevertheless, this is our policy. Nevertheless, I need to hold you accountable for these deliverables, right? It's tricky. You can be both. You can be like, I get it, I understand, and nevertheless, this is what I need. And I think that's compassionate as well. I think being clear is being kind. My Brene Brown fans have heard this before, right? Be clear, and that is kind. If you're unclear, you're being unkind. So if you're not telling people what's expected of them, and then all of a sudden like, oh, you're fired. You missed all these deliverables. What? You know, we as leaders have to be clear. That's a great one. Other thoughts? Yeah.
So remote work challenges, back to that. You said you host a lot of Zoom. So the challenge we have is when we get together in person as an organization, it's like, oh my gosh, this feels great. There's so much energy. And then, you know, how to replicate that in a remote world. And again, the challenge to me is the organic piece of it.
Yeah.
Having these things that, I mean, again, I'm kind of old school.
Yeah.
They can feel cheesy.
Right.
Are there ones that you have seen that you're like, you know, this actually works? It actually felt good. It didn't feel forced. It felt organic. It got the right things out, and could try to replicate that, what you get in person in that water cooler, because things get transactional, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're so worried about, is how do we do that? So any tips?
Yeah, sure. So I've been experimenting with this because, like I mentioned, I have multiple networking groups that I've created on Zoom. One of them is a new leaders group. So anybody who's new to the role, like 1 year or less, I invite them to this call. And what I'd like to think of as like, I semi-facilitate. So I am prepared with a few questions or a few thought starters, but then I get out of the way. And so I'll help them get going, like, okay, tell me something you learned recently. And then we'll sort of piggyback off that. But I have had to learn how to facilitate in that remote space differently than maybe I would in person. And you also have to be good at like quieting down the one person who wants to spend the whole 10 minutes talking about themselves, right? That can be a challenge too.
And company-wide, cross-departmental, right? You
Yeah.
get a bunch of people on a call, no one wants to talk.
Yeah.
I mean, anything you've seen.
I think it's all about being a better facilitator and coming to the meeting with what you want to get out of it. If it's connection, then we're not going to have a strict agenda. We're going to have connection questions. Like, we're going to just have a different strategy. Or maybe we meet up for the first 30 minutes just to do connection questions, and then the second 30 minutes is bullet points for the guy who doesn't want to be involved in the connecting part, right? So I think it kind of, you have to meet the needs of the people in the group, but you also, as a leader, have to be super flexible. Like, I can't show up to this meeting expecting something and then not make space for it to happen. And sometimes it's involved too using the chat. Like, I'll get some attendees who are really shy and they don't want to speak up. They'll have their camera on, but they don't necessarily want to like say it out loud. And so I'll be like, oh yeah, Barb mentioned this thing over here. Is anybody else experiencing that? And I can kind of be their proxy. So that's what I'm trying. I don't know that I have all the answers there either. Other tips from anybody?
I just wanted the microphone again. No, and what they did was he would pick somebody out before each team meeting and say, hey, give me just a 5-minute overview of a success story on this deal or
Nice.
whatever. And so he would rotate through, and so everybody would kind of take turns, but he would prep somebody on what he wanted the conversation to be around, and so that way that was kind of a false organic way to do it, if you will. But yeah, so yeah, nobody was surprised. They had prep, and then it typically led to conversation.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, thank you. I would say there's a lot of people studying this right now. HBR has some great articles on managing remote teams. I don't know who my other HBR fans are out there, but there's some great studies being done by organizational psychologists about what's working and what's not working. So I think we can all kind of learn from each other. But the key as a leader for me is to get out of the way, to stop trying so hard, like to come to the meeting with fewer expectations maybe, and just sort of be loosely prepared. This is where I kind of want it to go, but I'm also going to stand back and practice that improv art of yes and. If you've ever gone to improv theater or seen any improv theater, the way that they play off each other is just to say yes and all the time, even if it seems absurd or crazy or whatever. Get into that habit as a leader of saying, yes and, what do we do about this other thing? Or yes and, this also happened. Practice some improv skills. Other thoughts? Okay. I know you're all anxious to head home, but thank you for being such an amazing audience. Appreciate it so much. And if you want to get in touch with me, I'll hang around for just a little bit too if anyone wants to chat offline, and I've got business cards if you want to connect later. Or it's great to meet all of you. Thank you for your time.